Concerning this kind of situation, because time and again, I mean, if you listen to the Yobe State Governor after he visited, you listen to Borno State Governor after he visited, they all talk about the president asking more troops or upping the game. But the thing is, we all have a responsibility to do this. So take us through this, if you will. And what is it that we should be doing? Let's look at the leaders in the region, for instance. You said that this group seems to be hiding under the cloak of Northern Muslims. And there could be stereotypes. People could misinterpret their actions, saying, generally painting everybody with the same brush.
Definitely.
Whereas that's not the case. How should we be approaching this one? Should we just leave everything to the president or to him to direct the military? But that's not how this is going to be won completely.
I think you can hear if the chief of army staff is now being ordered by the Senate to relocate, it's as good as Mr. President being there. Because Mr. President is not going to take the guns and get out into the bush. But these people, if push comes to pull and whatever, the chief of army staff himself must wear the uniform and sling the gun and get out in the field.
Yeah, but that notwithstanding, the comments that the governors have made, is that the best they can do?
Yeah, well, first, you abused the operation, because when there was a state of emergency in these areas, even the governor has to be off duty, completely off, because they are not halfway about these things. It's either there's a state of emergency whereby the whole structure is suspended, and then you go out and clean up the mess. But the politics that we've been grieving about is what is creating all this. We are afraid to match some toes. We cannot tell those people who are pulling the strings behind us, no. So now that's why I said to you, when you get into the Arewa, you change. So, Mr. President, some people are saying, why don't Sambo go into Borno and under his donkey, like one of our comrades will be saying? That is not the issue. The reasons why late President Umar Yar'Adua sent his vice president into the creeks in the Niger Delta is a different thing. Niger Delta, they were there, they were in the creeks, they can be approached. But who is Sambo going to meet where? No address. You ask them to come in, they never surface. Even if they said, let's meet in Mecca, they are never there. The report is always red herrings.
So there's been series of attempts from this government and from
that is it. But unfortunately, the first things to be done is not done. If you don't put your pot on the fire, no matter how much preparations of your ingredients that is on the side of this thing, nothing will get cooked.
When you say the first things to be done are not done, what are the first things?
As president of this country came in for his first term after the late president's extent, he must have been abreast with what problems we have. Before he came to the presidency, he was a deputy governor. Right? You cannot tell me you don't know a little bit about how to get these things. When you get into the presidency, all the security reports and everything about this country's problems should have been at your table. Up to this time, you said to me you don't know what the problems are. Then something is wrong.
You know, as I said, I'll take you back to that statement you made. First things to be done. Is it possible for you to
get to the Sovereign National Conference? You see, you just can't run away from that. There are people who feel you call on this Sovereign National Conference, the country will break. And so what? If it breaks, what are you going to call yourself?
The question will be now, the national conference is about to start, or will start shortly.
What national
What's
conference?
the guarantee?
What national
Will the Boko Haram members be at the
What
conference?
national conference?
You don't know anything about
now,
the
is there going to be a ticket for the Boko Haram? Where do they get it? who surfaces to come and sit and talk on their behalf. Not the northern people that I can't talk on behalf of Boko Haram because I am not one of them. I don't know how to get to them. I have never spoken to them. The identity of being a northerner is all that we have in common. And they are not uninformed people. They are not working in isolation. There are people behind them. The funds and the so-called military gadgets that they have, firepowers that they have, which the governor of Borno State recently remarked on, is saddening, for example, because not that Nigerian government does not have the firepower, but there are limitations for some reasons best known to themselves, limited them to those power points where these Boko Haram people can always get the better side of them. But if we have these conferences in its true form, with a referendum tagged at the end of it,
How do you mean true form?
Yes. First, you see, you have to, whether you like it or not, bring about the ethnic nationalities question into this thing. How do you go about it is another thing. You have to know who you reach to get these nationalities out into the open. Give them a sense of belonging. How do you do it? You now have to go back to the traditional rulers and you have to bring them back in, because you cannot know these terrains and these nationalities more than the traditional rulers. You see, there are so many things that have been kept off.
So the people are very important in this scheme, because it brings to mind the civilian JTF when they came down, and then we saw some relative
I'm happy you
progress.
talked about civilian JTF. Civilian JTFs were just something else that happened which shouldn't have happened, because the true fact is the civilian JTFs you have ended up doing the job of the military while the military folded their hands and sat and watched. What happened? Kauri, Konduga, Biu, and these areas, for example, you find the civilian JTFs go into a town, they divide the town into two. You live next door, you live across the door, across the street. I know you grew up together. What happens? I suddenly, because of extra monies that I may be given, the gains that I will have financially, I take side. I am with the government, I am with the JTF. Then I go in because I know that they are in that house, I know that family. I confront the other side. In the daytime, we take our sticks and machetes, we confront door to door. Are you with us? Are you taking the machete? Are you taking the stick and join us and go and fight Boko Haram? If you say no, you can't, for whatever reason, you get the tag. He's a Boko Haram. They lynch you.
That's how it works.
Then in the night, the Boko Haram guys, sensing what happened in the day, now they come out and start slaughtering who they perceive as the enemies who perform. These are things that has been going on now. That is why you find out in the night they have slaughtered this, they have gone. This is the real picture.
But the thing is this.
So you see now, what are you talking about? Those JTFs are doing things for the impoverishments that is being the story of their life. They needed the cash. And because of this little change, they are prepared to do it. So towns are divided into two. Burning, looting, killing at will. I grew up with you, I end up coming and slaughtering you in the night. How insane this situation could be.
The question would also be, the military do not know the residents of these villages and towns. And the Boko Haram insurgents do not have a dress code, so to speak, so they live amongst the people. How then can the military action be so effective as to isolate the Boko Haram members from the civilians so that we will not have innocent people killed?
First, security has never been 100%. Am I right? Security has never been 100%. But you can beef up your security to a very high degree. the people whom you repose confidence of getting information and guidance are not protected. Look at the emir of the Sheikh of Borno, look at the emir of Obama, and the list goes on. Those same traditional rulers are now relegated out of the as an inconsequential offices, and yet they are the custodians of the ordinary people whom Mr. President or governor or even a local government chairman doesn't get to see. Even a councillor doesn't get to meet these people. But the first constituency, the primary constituency, is this local chieftaincies. So they can get to these people, but give them the security. You don't give them, you leave them open for attack, and now you ask them to now talk.
So all those that have spoken against them have been cut short. Sheikh Albani, the emirs you talked about, these are people who speak up against Boko Haram. So can't we, in a way, encourage more people? How can we encourage more people by way of protection to volunteer information against these people?
Let the securities be open. Now, how can you now move into Asorok? How can you now move into Governor Fashola's residence or go to Alausa today if you want to see Governor Fashola in his own new section? How do you get to it? The security checks you go through is something else. These people deserve it. They are Nigerians. These young children who died, who get killed every night and in their sleeps in the schools, their life is just as the president's life or any other body. He's a citizen of this country. That's the first thing. The loss that takes place from these unknown children, you cannot quantify it. Those grown-ups have already reached their peak. They have seen things. Whatever it is, their share that they contributed. But these ones, we don't even know if among them there are those who are going to go into space. So now we have lost them.
Just the way the nation is at a loss at what these people really want, because initially they came across as people who are members of your religion, who are Muslims, but if they will slaughter children, and from your books, even in war, you don't kill children and women, why would people who espouse your religion be slaughtering children and any other thing in their way?
Just like what I'm saying, at the time when the American presidents variously started chasing the Al-Qaeda, you saw the amount of money that was expended on that tracker. The American government almost buckled because the funds was just going like crazy chasing these people. At the end of the day, they nailed Osama, they nailed this, and they nailed that. The war is silent, but it's still going on. But the funding, I've heard these security officials complaining about lack of funds. Even the Inspector General of Police is crying yesterday that the funds limits him at all fronts. Yet we have the money. Nobody is going to tell any Nigerian that Nigeria does not have money. But where is this money? Who is keeping this money? Why is this money being kept off the real things?